So y'all know that Six Flags opened over in Georgia this past weekend, right? Oh, y'all didn't know that? Well, let me be the first to bring you up to speed. Six Flags opened in Georgia over the weekend. Can we get a round of applause for summertime is starting to come into the cities? But I have to warn you, it's not all peaches and cream. You know what I mean? Peaches and cream. You know what I mean? Peaches and cream. It's not all peaches and cream over in Georgia. Listen, Georgia is a mess right now. You got officials hiding migrants inside of the airport. You got the mayor of Atlanta standing tall with Fawny Willis, and I'm trying to understand if she gave him that P, that powerful P that she had listed in her phone. Because I'm trying to figure out, well, how you going to support something that's completely corrupt and the text messages is saying otherwise? The Fulton County DA is just crooked and they using the people's taxpayer money. But listen, we ain't even got to worry about that because the teens, they not just taking over Chicago. They taking over Georgia. Six Flags to be exact. Let me bring you up to speed of what's happening over in Georgia.
First this morning, we're seeing on top of a developing story, the GBI is now stepping in after an officer returned fire in a shooting right by Six Flags over Georgia. Our Erica Murphy is live breaking it all down. And Erica, this initially started with hundreds of people inside the theme park. Walk us through what led up to the shooting.
Cobb County Police say there were hundreds of people involved in several brawls here at Six Flags over Georgia here in Austell last night. But it's when park security and Cobb County Police stepped in to get things under control that things turned very serious right outside of the park. Police say that the melee started inside the park last night right after 6 p.m. And when police and security followed the crowd of 500 to 600 people to make sure that they left the park, someone shot at officers. The shooting happened on Six Flags Parkway near South Service Road, which is right outside of the park. An officer returned fire, ultimately hitting one of those suspects. That suspect was treated here on the scene and then taken to Grady. Now the GBI is stepping in to investigate the shooting. Now, one of the saddest things about this whole situation is this was opening day for Six Flags, and so park officials are saying that they are not going to tolerate this sort of behavior. Back to you.
Yes, sir.
So wait a minute. Let's put it in perspective. The first opening day for Six Flags. Opening day. Not closing. Not middle of the summer, the first day. Police officers making sure that they keep the peace because there's fights, there's all kind of stuff that's breaking out that they don't want to say. And somebody felt compelled to pull out a gun and shoot at a police officer. I said, Lord, take the Jesus be offense and take the wheel. Jesus be offense and take the wheel. So they felt compelled to pull out a gun and shoot at the police. The police said, oh, no, we got to stop the violence over at Six Flags on the first day that they opened up. Hit the person, and guess what? Now they're investigating the police shooting back and hitting the person that fired at the police that was tearing up the park in the first place. Do you see why police officers are very much afraid to even get involved in what's going on to even prevent any crime from happening in the first place? Whew.
It was chaos and panic on opening day at Six Flags over Georgia after officials say 500 to 600 people ran through the park. I'm
gonna catch all of
led to an exchange of
and I'm gonna read all of the super chats that I missed shortly. Give me a second because I want to make sure I acknowledge the people. Shout out to all of my people, including your car and the mods that's in the chat for making sure that I acknowledge the people. I appreciate y'all.
Gunfire right outside of the property that sent at least one person to the hospital. Thanks so much for joining us on this very busy Saturday night. I'm Eric Perry. This all unfolding just after 6 this evening. Fox 5's Joy Dukes is live for us. Joy, all right, you've been working this scene. We see the crime tape and the roller coaster behind you. Walk us through what you're learning.
Yeah, Eric, good evening to you. Just absolute chaos, as you mentioned there, erupted here near Six Flags earlier this evening, where GBI officials say they are investigating an officer-involved shooting that left one person with a gunshot wound. Now, this all started, as you mentioned earlier there, when Six Flags Park security say that they were met with an unruly crowd of about 500 or 600 people here inside the park that were running through the property and fighting. They contacted Cobb County officers for backup. While officers were trying to get that crowd of people off of the property, they say those individuals fired at officers, who then fired shots back, hitting one person. And that person was taken to the hospital for treatment. We're told no officers were injured, but a vehicle was damaged. Videos of the incident have been circulating online. They show a herd of park goers stampeding out of the park property, just trying to get to safety at the sound of those gunshots. Park officials said there were no shots fired on park property, and that the shooting itself took place on South Service Road, which is obviously just a few hundred feet from what you can see here, park property. But they say that the culprits seem to be underage kids. In a statement from a spokesperson, they said, quote, "Our goal is to provide safe, fun entertainment. It is incredibly disappointing that our community is disrupted at public events throughout the region by groups of underage youth. Just like other venues in the area, we are committed to keeping this type of trouble outside our park and off of our property." Now, we spoke with a woman who lives nearby. Here's what she had to say about the ordeal.
Crazy that a group of kids could cause all this. It was a real big group of kids. I've never seen a group of kids like that if outside of a high school. Parents need to just control the kids better probably, or step in and make sure the kids is doing what they need to be doing.
Now, the GBI is handling the investigation. You can see the crime tape up here. They have South Service Road blocked off to traffic while they conduct their investigation. We have seen a number of GBI officials here with their flashlights walking around trying to collect any evidence they can here. You see the mobile crime scene unit is also out here this evening. Now, what is still unclear is whether there will be any arrests or whether any of those children will face charges.
I don't understand. How won't they face charges? How can't they face charges? Why shouldn't they face charges? It is important that they face charges. You can't even go to Six Flags with your family without it being 500 to 600 people all gathered in a large gathering in order to fight. I want to get some of the reactions from the people that was there at Six Flags so that they can better illustrate to us exactly what's going on in our culture that y'all say is so awesome.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Six Flags Over Georgia is back open for business tonight, one day after a shooting outside of the park. A 15-year-old was shot when Cobb County police say they returned fire following multiple chaotic fights within the park. 11 Alive's Teresa Bowles is live outside of the park. And Teresa, what can you tell us?
Oh no,
this
it's
evening?
a weed problem, Brandon. That's for sure.
Latasha, I'm not sure if it's the weather or fear from yesterday's fights, but park goers today tell me that the experience Sunday was totally different. The thrills are back at Six Flags Over Georgia.
It was really good. It wasn't that busy. There were several rides that were closed, but the lines weren't really that bad.
Despite the fact that some visitors described the night before as a thriller.
Did something happen? Has there been a fight?
Many Sunday unaware of Saturday's multiple brawls breaking out left and right, ending in gunshots on South Service Road in Austell, which prompted hundreds of visitors to hurriedly haul out of the park.
Cobb County police say officers shot back at a group who opened fire, hitting a patrol car. One of the officers hitting a 15-year-old in the group who is now recovering at the hospital.
It doesn't really surprise me. I don't want to say it's common, but living in Georgia since I was 13, I hear about it all the time.
So you telling me that Georgia's for the streets? Is Georgia for the streets? That's all I'm asking. Why is everybody so hell-bent on trying to move down to Georgia or move down to Atlanta? What is there? Can somebody tell me that? What's there? What's in Georgia? What's so awesome about it? You can't even go to Six Flags. Is Atlanta officially for the streets? Do we gotta move the meetup that we would usually have for Atlanta somewhere else? Because when we did our meetup in Atlanta, it was getting it. She says she's been in Georgia since she was a little teenager, and it doesn't surprise her because it's normal. This type of behavior is normal. Somebody said this ain't a we problem, it's a parent problem. No, it's a we problem because it's a cultural norm. This is what's normal in the culture. This is what's normal in the culture. So I'm trying to figure out how it did. Okay, so let me ask y'all another question before we get to the next thing. Because we always say something isn't a we problem when we don't want to address it collectively, but then y'all say that it's an individual problem on this. But then when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or the white man, or reparations, it's a we problem all of a sudden. Change the meetup to Charlotte. I might come to Charlotte. I might come through to Charlotte. Hey, when is it a we problem? Is it only when it benefits you, or when it's issues? Then it's, oh no, that's an individual thing. When a bad cop individually assaults a black person, then it's a we problem. Anton, I can't believe that you're going to always say that we need to root out the bad cops. All police officers are bad. They hate black people. It's a we problem. So it's a we problem when it comes to racism or systematic racism. When the culture justifies, and the rap music and the people that's on Instagram and the normal TikToking and stuff, when that's happening, that's them by themselves. That's not all us. Nah. You say parents ain't doing their job? This is what y'all normalize as parenting.